Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Hello, Walnut. It is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday. I am so happy that this fell out of my butt and fell back in because I have forgotten all about this small but mighty little walnut. Is it a walnutting? Walnut percolation, walnut share, that I think is a very important reminder. So, okay, you know how on the spectrum of things of what makes a good mum versus what makes a good dad and all of that sort of stuff. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit today, Walnut, about integrity. And I had this tiny, tiny, tiny little moment, and I hope that you pull a little tidbit out of it. But basically, what's going on in my sphere at this moment, Walnut, is basically like this embodied version of what being a good parent means to me. By proxy, by extension, being a good person, being accountable, having integrity, blah, 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 to really stand in myself. You know how I was saying a couple of weeks ago that, that my self-talk is strong and all of that. It's all kind of bleeding into similar themes. But I had a little moment, Walnut, where I am at the moment the daycare drop-off person. So I do the drop-off, which means, I've already told you, which means I have to get the later train and all the things with public transport. But I do the drop-off. Now, sometimes when I'm alone and historically, sometimes when I'm driving and I'm feeling lazy and reckless and all of the things, sometimes I don't put a seatbelt on if it's really far away. And I know this is naughty, and this is the walnutting part where that has changed now. But and I think it comes from being a teenager and it was cool to not do that, but actually now we know stories, now we know things, and now it's important to wear a seatbelt. But I was thinking this. Anyway. So I would go to daycare, do the drop off, and put my seatbelt on, all the things. And then sometimes when I go to smack myself in the face, when I go to get the train and rush to the train station after drop off so I can get the earlier one to blah 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 blah, so my day is not anyway. Sometimes I will be zooming away from the daycare, and I'm like, oh, I haven't put my seatbelt on yet. I had this little moment where I was like, oh, should I just put it on, or should I just zoom to the station and it's not a big deal? And then I thought to myself, hang on, I need to lead by example. So if I'm wearing the seatbelt when my baby's in the car, and if I'm wearing a seatbelt when other people are in the car, I should be having that integralness when I'm alone by myself in the car. And because that is what being a responsible person, a good mum is, by leading by that example. I should have written this down. I'm not coming full circle. But basically, what's coming up for me, Walnut, is how you can have, oh my gosh, he's such a good dad because he took the child to the park once in a blue moon, and he's pushing the child on the park and the child is having fun, and yay. Where the mum's at home doing all of the meal prep, has done the food shopping, remembered to buy the nappies, reloaded the formula, packed the bag to go to the park, there's all of that stuff, but that moment is such a good dad. Well, I'm kind of on that frame of thought where it's like me not wearing my seatbelt even when no one is looking makes me be able to say to myself, oh, you're such a good, not even such a good mum. You're a responsible, accountable person. You're practicing what you preach. Kind of, now I feel silly I hope that makes sense, Walnut. Like I say, it's a small but mighty walnutting. And basically, the moral of the story, or my little theme of what I wanted to talk about today, is just what what do you do when no one is looking? You know? What do you do when you are by yourself to keep momentum, keep yourself accountable, to know you're doing a good job, when it's not about who's looking at you or who's gonna read what you wrote or who's micromanaging you or performance analyzing you. What do you do when you are alone in integrity with yourself to hold yourself accountable, if that kind of makes sense. So yeah, that little like seatbelt thing. And I do, and I put it on, and I put my seatbelt on now at all times, always, all the time, because if anything happened to me, if I got, God forbid, got in a car accident or something for not wearing my seatbelt, what kind, that's not practicing what I preach. And it's not me going, oh, buckle in, well, obviously my baby is a baby, so I do have to buckle him in anyway. But if they were putting their seatbelts on themselves, um, you know, so I hope that makes sense. I hope this just gives you a little bit of food for thought, but have some reflection, Walnut. And what do you like when nobody is around? And can you genuinely hand on heart say that you are practicing what we preach in authentical, all authentical walnutness. The word fell out of my butt of what I'm trying to say. Accountable, responsible, delicious, all the bills. Yeah. Have a think. Have a think and let me know, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a happy Walnut Wednesday, and I'll talk to you maybe next week. But remember that the small walnuttings are also mighty, small but mighty. Have a happy Walnut Wednesday. Bye.